how's it?
Okay,
Welcome back. Are we on now? We're on the correct page, and I think I'm pressing the correct buttons.
Yes.
While Wayne and the team look for the feed to share it. How's it? Welcome to the Fitchef Show. Thank you for joining us. This is fast becoming one of my favorite shows on radio because every week we discuss a topic that becomes beyond interesting on the show. Tonight we have some fantastic guests. In fact, when I told my girlfriend who we had on tonight, she said, I'm taking you to work, and she's here tonight, which isn't the normal situation.
Which is the first time. That's awesome.
Is Wayne Kaminsky in the middle.
Mickey, exactly.
And in the middle of our two great guests. So, Wayne, why don't you introduce our guest tonight? I know you're as excited as I am.
I am. That's absolutely sort of. This has been a sort of an amazing find. It's not often you come across sort of like two guys and an incredible story where you think this is actually physically impossible. Like, how could this be real? And like only once you sort of meet the person and you see the pictures and you see the videos, you realize this story is huge. And when I first came across this whole story, it was like, I didn't even realize sort of how big the story really was. But the biggest thing for me is not realizing sort of how amazing these two guys actually are. So we got Jason and Gavin. Welcome, guys, from ProMake.
Yep, thank you.
So basically, I think what we're going to do is sort of just touch on your story. Sort of
the big claim to fame is that this is part of the team. You two are part of the team that performed the inner ear transplant, the very first inner ear transplant that the country and the world's been talking about.
It was the first 3D printed inner ear transplant.
Right.
So there's been other attempts and other processes, but the way we did was definitely it was a world first. Yeah.
So that's the big story. I mean, that's the one that caught my eye. I went, wow, look at
what's
coming in tonight.
You heard about that.
And then I read the backstory.
Yeah.
I read your story. And I read the story of triumph over incredible odds. And I was like, okay, this is going to be a great chat tonight.
It is actually. Definitely. I mean, I think you say the backstory here, and I don't want to give it away, but it is unbelievable. Like, I mean, sort of Iron Man, has nothing on you. Absolutely nothing on your story. But I think let's start at the beginning. I mean, I think probably let's touch on sort of where you've come from, like your last many years of life and what you've been through.
Literally,
so let's go back. A huge cyclist.
last many years of life. The last 5 years.
So it started off with a nice cycling ride.
Cycling, He was mad about cycling.
Yeah, I'd been cycling for most of my life, right? And I had Pro-Am and everything of that sort. And I was training for SA Champs on the velodromes like they do in the Olympics. And just a freak accident that ended up leaving me with 32 areas of my body really, really broken and damaged. Collapsed lungs.
32 areas broken.
I collapsed my lungs, broke all my ribs, broke my sternum, shattered my clavicle, that the bones broke through the skin. My scapula was off.
Your fingers were
you
all...
can see the knuckles of my fingers were all coming
dislocated.
through.
We actually have pictures of you being treated on screen right now. On a backboard and spinal board.
Oh, that's... I think that picture is actually where they actually had told my family that I wasn't going to make the next morning. And just pretty much say cheers for now, And...
you had a big crash, a bicycle.
A bike crash, I didn't hit anybody else and nobody hit me. It was a freak bike accident. Ended up with collapsing lungs and kidneys and major brain injury.
But so you crashed, and then on the scene, what happened? Tell us about that scene.
So on the scene itself, I mean, apparently I was blowing bubbles from everywhere because my ribs had broken through shoulder, the bones had come through the shoulder. I had collapsed my lungs. I was blowing bubbles out of all the areas that air could come out of. They worked on me for an hour to keep me alive. Apparently I passed away at the scene. And then they managed to get me packed and then shipped me off to Barrack-Guarmouth.
Unbelievably, I know.
Lo and behold, they actually, because of the injuries that they deal with, managed to keep me going.
You got to the right place.
I collapsed again at the hospital, and then they told my family that they don't suspect that I'm going to make the next morning, and if I did, I'd be permanently brain damaged for the rest of my life. So that's, in a nutshell, left me in a pickle as such.
Jason, we've got a video here of you lying in one heck of a state.
That was 2 months afterwards.
Yeah.
That was 2 months. That was what happened. Was my eyes would shake, my body would shake uncontrollably. I couldn't hold proper sentences together. So speaking was a bit of an issue. So I couldn't really explain what I was feeling. And that was actually taken by the occupational therapist because they couldn't believe.
1,000 words. You were in real trouble.
I mean, I knew what was going on. I was just now in what they call a semi-locked-in state, where knew everything as if I was normal day life. Just my body just wouldn't respond, and I couldn't tell anybody. And that went on for quite some time. I mean, I think it was all in all, it was close to about 6 months. About 6 months, yeah.
So 6 months, like you're stuck inside your own head.
It got better, obviously, and I had better days and had worse days. And then, but the family that looked after me, Roy and Linda Wetherell and Lee Wetherell, they were miraculous. I mean, without them, they never gave me self pity. They was just keep moving, keep driving.
It's important,
because a lot of families, if you think about it with injuries today, families become a contributor to the injury, where they're like, oh, shame, take it easy, don't push, have his chocolate, take it easy. We spoke about this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So whereas they were like, keep moving, you can't lie there and feel sorry for yourself. And it's the people around me that they kept me going. And then obviously Gavin was around, and just it started to evolve.
I mean, it is phenomenal because I think so people don't understand sort of like the depth of your injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, you told me you were sort of sleeping upright sometimes.
I learned to sleep sitting upright for 2 years. Because of the head injury, they couldn't do any surgeries because they couldn't keep me under anesthetic long enough because of the brain injury I suffered. It was just too deadly in respects of what we could do. So I couldn't lie down, because if I lay down, my ribs would squeak, and it just was painful, and I just...
So just one thing, your ribs would squeak. I mean,
they would make a funny noise, like when I was breathing, I could feel the feeling of it like grinding, and they would make like a cork noise, like when you cork on a table, like squeak noise. If in certain positions, it wouldn't happen all the time, but odd times it was like it sounded like somebody rubbing a cork on a table. You know what I mean?
No ways. I mean, like you were severely broken. I mean, you were really, really broken.
I was.
What was going through your mind?
All I remembered is that I was pretty much in a situation of I've got to become my own best friend, because no one else is in this world with me. And the only way I ever explained it to people was like, I felt like I was sitting across the road and watching the world go by, and there was no way for me to get across the road, but except imagine that I was there. So I had to use my imagination a lot. I had to think about scenarios where I'll just enjoy my own life within my own head, becoming my own best friend and having conversations with myself. So, I mean, I felt like I was stuck on an island, but stuck in my own body at the same time. And I would be able to converse basics, but not have full-on in-depth conversations.
Really? How basic was your conversation?
I still get friends sending me messages today, or text messages, and they were like, Shane, this guy is proper pickled, because I would write them and nothing made sense. I mean, my wording would get wrong. I'd come up with my own words.
Really? So there's just like no real... Because I mean, like, you're around. I mean, so like, you basically are sort of like a friend that is family.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been through the whole thing, like the whole journey with you. I mean, like, how was it? I mean, how was it seeing your mates sort of like battling along like this?
It was a bit of a laugh sometimes, I think.
Yeah, in certain respects it was.
But you had to laugh it out. I mean,
yeah, I think the first time I saw you after the accident, you got back. It was an absolute shock. I mean, to see the way you were walking around and the kinds of things that you were doing. I remember you showing me a VR set, but the way you explained it to me and sort of showed me what was going on in terms of the data that was on the VR set wasn't the same. It wasn't the way you would have done it before.
Yeah.
So there was a definite impact. It was, all the emotions come through. It was shocking. It was sad. It was, it was just difficult sort of looking at that situation and thinking, geez, what is Jay going through at the moment? Like, really, what is going on in his head? What is amazing is how far he has come. I mean, I've watched the journey.
Unbelievable.
But it's not been a one-man show. It's been a whole team thing. I mean, as I say, Gavin's been around.
You had a team around you.
Team around people.
Exactly.
Support team.
Yes, the story started with me in that respect. But if it wasn't for the people and the support of the people around me, I don't think I would have had the drive to keep fighting.
Yeah.
Keep
it's
going.
an amazing story. Tonight as we were putting the show together, I had a room full of scuba divers, and they saw the video of you lying there in that locked in state, and I said, that's my guest tonight, and no one believed that you were actually coming in.
How could you ever?
No, they looked at the video and said, no ways.
I mean, the occupational therapist had never seen anything like it.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They had not seen anything like it before, and they couldn't understand how I was actually able to tell them what I was actually seeing, because the way my eyes would shake and my body would shake and mumble words, and my disorientation was terrible. So walking was wasn't exactly the easiest thing.
Of course not.
So, but to me it was like, I felt like I was just a bit dizzy. but actually,
But everyone else,
my body was having a party on the
different
outside.
from the outside.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
yeah.
Did you at some point realize you have to fix yourself?
I did, because what actually happened was, because of the breakages, my subclavial artery, which comes from your jugular and your aorta, was all mangled amongst the clavicle and the shoulder and everything like that. So during the recovery stage, as Gav says, we used virtual reality to teach me certain things, because we were doing a project for BBC News in the UK, where they wanted to be able to take virtual reality, which was the original ones where you take the cell phone in, you slid it inside and you would put it on your head. They wanted people to feel that they were the same place from where they were reporting from. So by watching YouTube videos and just watching people's facial expressions, because I had lost all sense of what facial expressions were, and by watching facial expressions, hearing the sound, watching the tester button, I was able to then allocate sound to words, mouth the words, create a power association to words by utilizing hours and hours of these types of things, or watching it on a tablet. So, and then we realized, hang on, this could fast track things, because the accident, I failed maths at school, and it made me drop it in 7 or 8, right? And so I wasn't exactly the brightest of the lot.
Don't feel alone. I was dropped to standard grade in standard 8.
So what actually? So math was never a great thing.
Lower grade at Springs Boys.
So math was not a great thing, and all of a sudden after the accident, I went from writing with my right hand to writing with my left hand. I could now do math super fast, but even though my memory was completely knackered, I started using pictures and numbers as my source of understanding things. So if I can associate a number to a picture or a picture to a number, I could work it out. So like if I took a bottle, I could work out a volume.
You were doing what memory champions do. They associate numbers and pictures to.
I'm not sure. But I'd look at a bottle and I'd work out the height and the depth and everything. And that would create like a memory source for me to understand what that is. So my big problem was organic stuff, like foods. I had no understanding of foods. I mean, as I say, in my TED talk, I didn't understand that bananas grew on trees. I didn't know that you could boil an egg. Firstly, I didn't know how to eat a boiled egg. I didn't even know how to peel it. So I tried to cut it with a knife, and everybody had a good laugh at that.
Really?
And I thought everything you drank was called juice.
So you were learning a lot of
everything.
It's to relearn everything.
Everything again.
Jeez.
I thought everything you drank was called juice. I was having tea juice and coffee juice and cola juice, and I still catch myself saying cola juice, and it was weird. It was absolutely really weird. And then Gav and I, started collaborating quite a bit and understanding the math. And having originally come from the jewelry field, we did a lot of CAD work, which then, after working years in the jewelry, I've shifted over to the medical field, and that's where I learned a lot about the medical side. And Gav used to do a lot of the preoperative models and the surgical guides to the process of 3D printing and additive manufacturing. So through that process, we then realized, hang on, we got a problem, because after hours and hours of the YouTube video, I realized pictures and numbers are like a Rubik's Cube. So I ended up in a very short space of time doing the algorithm of a Rubik's Cube that can go from scramble to finish in less than a minute. And that was like binary coding, like ones and zeros, ones and zeros, ones and zeros.
Is that what we're watching now? I'm watching a video.
That's live. What we did was we actually strapped the cell phone to my broken chest, because I had we had made like got the special body brace that held my shoulder and everything in place. And we started doing the Rubik's Cube like that. So, but while I was doing that, day in and day out, just as a way of kind of grounding myself, because it was my go-to place. It was my place when I was stressed out or was panicking about anything, I'd use the Rubik's Cube just to take my mind off things. But what started happening was my right hand started getting slower and slower, and then my arm started to change color slightly. And then we realized we've got a bit of a problem here. And then we're going back to the doctors, we realized that the subclavial arteries in my arm was so badly mangled, as the bones are starting to knit, like try and fix themselves, they're starting to squeeze everything. But the surgery process now left us in a situation, they couldn't just go in and cut, because if they hit the subclavial artery, I'd be dead in seconds in theatre. In a nutshell, in layman's terms. So now we sat with a problem, so like, what do we do now? So with the head injury, we couldn't put me on anesthetic for the normal 16 or 18 hours it would take just to try and fix me. So we went back to the situation where, okay, pictures and numbers. What is CAD work? CAD is pictures and numbers. I might not be able to read what the icons on the screen were, but we were able to then, I sat for hours as my own OT, extracting the data from my CT scan within the DICOM format, and started planning my surgery and my cutting guides together with Gav and my other colleague Philip.
What's a cutting guide?
A cutting guide is where the doctors will put it onto you and they'll cut the bone a certain way, drill and cut by numbers. We do that based off the data you get from your CT scan, because we take the CT scan and convert it into actual industrial design based CAD, and we're able to see it in 3D as to where the problems are and start designing a strategy on how we're going to cut the bone. And then what we then Gav did was printed a whole lot of models, and those went off to the surgeons, and they practiced again and again and again. And because we had to get the surgery down to less than 3 hours because of the brain injury, because there's just no ways I could handle the anesthetic for that time. So Gavin printed,
so we 3D cutting guides.
3D cutting guides directly from the CT scan. So it was an anatomical correct fixture.
And you were doing this yourself. You had no outside medical company saying, "Hey,
well, what actually happened
was this a medical first that you were busy?"
It was the same as what we used to do on maxillofacial reconstruction or facial reconstruction after gunshots or car accidents and stuff. But we just took it to a whole new level. And then some guys in a company in Amsterdam that did virtual reality training with this, they call a C stations, a special like a augmented reality type process. They came on board and they worked in Amsterdam while I worked here. Then Gav was printing models that was going off to the occupational therapists and the surgeons. And we did 18 months of planning and surgery cutting and repetitive tasks and more prints and trying to work out a way how they could get in, remove the bone around the subclavian artery.
Unbelievable.
Because the option was amputate the shoulder. Yeah. And the problem was it was starting to affect all the blood flow right all the way down.
So you had a real problem.
You had a major problem. So even but the difference was, even if they amputated the arm, the bones are still mangled amongst the bone. So even if I had a seizure now from an epileptic fit, didn't mean I was in the clear. Because those bones could pierce and I'd be dead anyway. Yeah. So saving the arm just meant it would stop it from going gangrene. It wasn't saving my life.
Sina Matthews says what I think a lot of us are thinking. Amazing. Planning your own surgery.
Yeah.
Who would go, well, I got it in me that I'm the kind of character that probably tell the surgeons.
Well, so what happened, sorry to interrupt you there. What the world's first actually was is that for the first time with Gavin and myself and our colleagues around us, it made it the first time as a patient and a technician from the field as one. So that means we could talk back to the doctors and tell them exactly what's happening within me, going back to the tech that we could use to fix it. And then they would give us insight whether that would be feasible, will work. So it was a joint collaboration. It wasn't like I went there and go, I watched a YouTube video and I cut a couple of boxes.
Because doctors don't respond well to that.
Look, trust me, a lot of doctors said to me that the brain damage was a lot further than just the injury, that actually I was a bit mental, that I wanted to do this.
Of course.
And they just walked away. They didn't want to know about it. So eventually we had a doctor, Dr. Andrew Barrow, that eventually said, I'll do it. Because of our past history on the maxillofacial reconstruction that Gavin and I had done before.
Yes. How did you convince him? I mean, so you got a doctor, you're going to operate on me, I'm going to teach you how to operate on me, I'm going to show you how to operate on me,
It was really great because he's quite forward thinking. And he is young enough to understand tech is coming. You can't stop it. So when I put the models down on the table and we put the custom implants and the cutting guides and said to him, this is what it is, there we go. We fulfilled all the questions that he had. And then we had to go down to Cape Town and go to the Medical Research Council and actually get them to approve what we were about to do. Because it wasn't just like, we're going to go to the doctor and like a tooth and get it pulled. We actually had to go get approved because at the end of the day, it was a matter of like, the doctor can take the risk, but at the end of the day, if I died on the table,
then there's liability all over.
There's liability to the hospitals, the staff, his company.
Jeez.
So we have to get to a point
I've
where
heard this week is hospitals don't like people dying in their hospitals.
No.
Ironically.
Yes. Ironically, exactly.
No. So I mean, so he was quite happy to do it if we could get approval. We got approval, but the conditions were, can they take everything we do and use it as a research case, and would I be prepared to sign on the dotted line that I waiver all my rights, that I literally taking my life in my own hands? And I think it put a lot of pressure on Gav also, that my life was in his hands.
No pressure on you, Gavin.
Because we had to make sure our planning and everything was right. It was a huge leap of faith. And, signing that day when you're going to hospital and you've got to sign that you're going for theatre and they ask you, who's going to fetch your body. That signing that dotted line, knowing that you're on your own, man, was a rude awakening.
This could go badly. This really, really could go badly.
Yeah. And then we went into theatre And I remember I had to walk into theatre, or hobbled into theatre, and I sat down on the edge of the bed, and the anaesthetist was sitting next to me, and Dr. Andrew Bates sat on the other side. And they even said to me, "Do you sure you really want to do this?"
Really?
And I was just like, I think the brain damage was still there. Because I even turned around and I said to him, "Today's a good day to die."
Yeah.
And
Oh, wow.
they're both like, "We're not entertaining that.
No,
We've
not-
done 18 months of planning." And it's like, well, then let's just do it. And we ended up doing it. And from the time they knocked me out to the time they woke me up, we had to do it within 3 hours. It was 1 hour and 34 minutes and 22 seconds. That's how we timed it exactly. And we put it all back, got the subclavian artery released. We put the custom implants, which we printed and made ourselves.
That's right.
Out of titanium. And then we used an osteogenic bone matrix, a special bone paste that we used our stem cells with, which is actually from bovine, from cows. We extract all the cellulose out of it, made a special bone paste so that my body would recognize it. And so because I shattered all my ribs, right?
Yes.
And everything like that, there was no ways we could do a bone graft for my ribs to rebuild my clavicle and part of my shoulder and everything. So I was missing 3.5 centimeters of bone that had broken off when I had the accident. So there's nothing to really put me back together. So we put the titanium plate in the bone matrix, and then there we go. So we put me back together. It sounds like, oh, that was easy enough, but it was a lot of.
But the weird thing here, okay, so I think we're missing out is sort of like a part here, really, where it's saying, hang on a second, here you were majorly injured. Like, you know, you were sort of like, you died basically sort of twice, sort of, you know, sort of on that first day kind of thing. You were bleeding from everywhere, you were brain damaged, your brain was seriously damaged. I mean, you got all the CAT scans, you got everything else out there. And you went along and you decided, hey, let's actually sort of, let's rebuild myself, let's actually sort of like, let's improve, let's recover.
Yeah.
You have these great friends around you, like Gavin. I mean, like, it's, and neither of you have any medical history whatsoever. You actually sort of, as you said, like you weren't even good at maths previously.
No, sucked.
You know, all kinds of hectic things happened.
Sure.
And now all of a sudden, here you are building basically a 3D structure of your body, and giving the doctors cutting guides so they can replace your ribs together, because your ribs, your clavicle, your shoulder, all kinds of things were all completely broken.
Yeah.
And they had to cut you apart, take an operation down from 16 hours down to
1.5 hours.
To 1.5 hours, basically.
Yeah.
And like sort of somehow, and yet you guys didn't have any medical background. I mean, how did this all come about? What
Look,
happened?
it was years. Look, you know, having that said, I mean, Gavin and I have been doing additive manufacturing or 3D printing. I mean, up until this year, it's 23 years for me. So it's pretty much when the first machine arrived in the country in 1996. Gav's been doing about 15 years odd, thereabout.
Yeah.
And we've been working together, but a lot on the medical side. So, I mean, having that, it's been years of being coached by the right guys. And when I say coached, by being on the ground, in the field, learning street smarts.
Yeah.
We're not governed by a textbook, not governed by education regimes, but purely like think quick on your feet and think fast.
Yeah.
Because in theatre, you don't. I mean, you can ask Gavin. We don't have time to go, oh, well, we'll come back to you. Can we just, can you hold that? We'll come back in a week. You can't do that.
No, you can't do that.
So, but having that said, we knew this was very unique, and that we did take a very big leap of faith, and it might not have been the same for anybody else. I mean, the results could have been totally different.
Yeah.
But we just had to believe. It's a common saying, desperate people do desperate things, and I think we were at that stage.
But there's something that's even further back, I think that is cool. Like, okay, so jewelry design came into this a big part. I mean, you were mad about cycling.
Yeah.
You were actually mad about cycling. You didn't want to do any other plan B career lines, did you? So what happened?
So look, you know what? I realized with cycling was not going to be forever. So I had to learn something. So when I was coming out of high school, I did a silversmithing course in the evening, and then before I knew it, I moved up pretty quickly, and I ended up starting my own business, winning a couple awards here in the national design side, and then I went and worked on ships for a number of years and traveled around the world. And then while I was traveling around the world, I got involved with 3D printing machines. So when I came back home, I'd learned everything around the female lifestyle, from fashion handbags to shoes to accessories, and then that was all done with product development, 3D printing. So when I got back home, I really couldn't get a job, because everything that I was trained as a jeweler, we didn't have in the country. We didn't have that.
Yeah.
So what do I do? So how do I do now? And then friends of ours got me involved with a maxilloprostodontist and some maxillofacial surgeons, and that's where Gavin and I then connected up. And we started doing all these pre-operative models. We started with a little baby making a breathing mask, then evolved into prosthetics, then into surgical guided processes.
So interesting, such interesting work.
Coming from the jewelry, it's design, and you're working with metals, which is metallurgy, which is titanium and golds and platinums. So you understand the principles. Then when Gav came on board, he came on board with the fundamental tech of production strategies. And then we merged the two together, and we were then able to now start doing major advancements on facial reconstruction. Because I know, given it that we do live in a country where we have some extraordinary
high levels of trauma.
So and a lot of it's oncology, cancer, tumors in the face, which people leave late for some reason. Maybe it's they just don't have the money for healthcare.
Yeah, I saw a couple of weeks ago, Temba Hospital. Number of patients walking around with very big tumours.
So that's where a lot of our work became, and we were making models from there. So we took all that history and research, and thank goodness that we had done that, because when I had my surgery and I said to the doctors, "We can fix me," and they didn't even flinch because of what we had learnt over the years, and because I had been to theatre and Gav had been to the theatre with these surgeons. They were like, "Well, you're not just winging it. We've actually seen your work. You can see what you guys can do."
Yeah, it's a real thing.
So then we were just overset, and it happened.
But the weird thing is, like 3D printing. This is early on in the day. How did you get into 3D printing, and what year was this, by the way?
Early 2000s, huh?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, it was the early 2000s or so.
3D printing is still sort of fairly new.
Tom, I had sort of scouted around, and I found a 3D printing company at Electromining one year, and had just happened to walk onto the stand and initially had a look at everything and thought, wow, man, look, what am I looking at here? And having spoken to them a little bit more and got a bit more information as to what really was going on the stand, it was something that just it fascinated me. How a 3D printer could produce a physical model out of nothing. And it just progressed from there. I immersed myself in it, and I just got straight into it and did all kinds of research and internet searches and all kinds. Just got as much information into my head, and then just progressed.
It's really cool if you jump in right at the beginning of the technology. You can become quite proficient and an expert in it quickly.
Just go for it.
Is that what happened?
That's exactly what happened. So I think both Jay and I caught it at a time where it was typically starting.
It was like the dot matrix of the printers. No one knows back, like the ribbon printers that we got when we were kids.
Yeah.
It was like we walked in then. And it was uncanny.
There were no real manuals. There wasn't manuals, but it was so new. It was like sort of...
guys were buying these things, taking them home and printing something and giving up after the first one.
And that still happens. So that still continues.
Okay.
People the problem with it is that people will buy a 3D printer, they'll typically take it home, they'll download all kinds of stuff off the net, grow a few parts and get bored with it.
Okay.
Where Jay and I, when it comes to 3D printing, we utilize the tech to its fullest.
You could see all the applications. Is that what you saw?
Absolutely. And I think that is what is fundamentally important in this respect. Is what are you doing with the 3D printer? What kind of parts are you putting out, and what are you doing to really make an impact? And I think a lot of that relates to Jay's story, and it's also pushed ProMake essentially to a position where we are now. We're doing things like the inner ear implants as a good example. We've done cranial implants. We did an awesome cranial implant at the beginning of the year. I think we caught it at the right time, and we're now at a level where sort of 20 years later, the technology has improved so much that there's so many more new materials on the market that we are able to now achieve even more than what we've achieved so far.
But it wasn't only about timing though. From conversations, because loads of guys, from stories that we know of, sort of jumped into 3D printing and all kinds of things there.
Yeah, and what separates the winners from the also race?
There's some things that are really unique about you guys, sort of in your mindset, how you pull it together.
I think it's determination.
And the lack of borders. You guys don't have borders. Yeah. You never had borders in your life, from what I understand.
No, guys. I think it's based on we have a common goal, and that is to, or I should say, it's based around people and how can we help people. We essentially don't chase the buck. We have a common goal in sight. We've got a mission to help a million people or a million souls, human and animal. And we believe we can achieve that.
And look, at the end of the day, I mean, the thing is that we could actually just turn it into like a corporate entity and hold on to the tech. And it's a common thing in SA. Everybody wants to own everything for themselves. It's a very me type culture.
And the world.
I'm sorry to say, but as blunt as that sounds, it's true though. Whereas what we take in that process, and we thought, well, at the end of the day, I kicked the bucket twice and I made it back. So am I here to chase the tangible value of money?
To give you a sense of purpose.
It did. That's essentially what it did. I mean, and then we all realized that the power of the give back, as we call it, could actually potentially impact a lot more lives, which means it makes it a lot more sustainable as a business plan and a business model. Definitely. So we took that approach and we said, well, why must we hang on to this tech or only for ourselves? So after lots of planning, Gav and myself, we worked out what happens if we can enable people of disability or other people that have TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, through our system, so that they can empower themselves, so people of disability can empower people of disability. So whether your disability is a traumatic trauma, or whether it be mental or emotional or physical, a trauma is a trauma compared to us, whether it's human or animal. And if we make this an application that we can then get people access to and say it's free, plug into our system, and you've got access to all the professional machines, all professional tech support. The only thing you'll end up paying for is obviously your parts. How much can a community and people empower through other people? And that's the route we took. Absolutely. And in a space of, in a year, we went from, as you saw, me being a proper pickle, doing a little dance, to us now teaming up and collaborating with the right people. Gav and I putting our heads together, working with the Prof Mashudi with the inner ear surgery. That's gone global. And we did not ask once, what are we going to be paid for this? And the people came to the party, like your dad. Like everybody came to the party, right?
I never
you didn't ask for it.
So many people would step forward and say, we won't let this guy die.
No, exactly.
We're going to help you. I never knew these people existed. They came out of everywhere. It was unreal.
Just to help out.
To say, hey.
This enthusiastic approach to help.
It's like, I think that we live in a time and also in a country where so much, we think so much is predetermined. Oh, well, that's a mess. That's not going to work. Now, when we see an opportunity to change the terrible story into a decent one, people want to. We want a good ending.
We want to turn the story into the best gift ever. Take your trauma, it's contrast to the color of that you can create in your life.
That's incredible.
So, that's what we did.
I mean, it is phenomenal. I mean, the story just gets better and better, and it carries on.
Sure.
I mean, you know, like.
Well, I haven't had my drink yet, by the way.
Oh my gosh! Okay, that was yours. Okay, so.
I got lots of good red stuff.
Good red stuff. I think, guys. I think charge your glasses.
All right. This is normally how we start, but we had a bit of a bumpy start this evening.
Let's give you a little top of this. What the hell? Mix it up, guys. Sorry. I'm mixing up your drinks. Okay, so some Fitchef Nourish juices and cheers. I thought I'd be gentle tonight. It was a.
Oh, that's a nice one.
In the midst of all craziness, you got to have something gentle sometimes. And actually, normally we're pretty cruel to people, and we sort of, as you've heard, we give you a bit of a hardcore ginger shot. Tonight is all about being nice and kind. This is my one act of kindness today, basically. But I think it's sort of incredibly. So I mean, you know, like, where you guys have come from, and sort of what you've both done. And what you've both sort of given back to the world, and what you are giving back to the world. The fact that you came from almost, you guys weren't specialists in anything but 3D printing. And as you say, the wise men from the East, as I'm calling them,
we're tough in the East. We can't break the guys East.
From the Vale, man.
Guys, I'm a Springs boy, and like these Edenvale Oaks that say they're from the East. They're on the cusp.
They're on the cusp, exactly.
But we do accept them into the East Rand fold. Yes. Did your mother tell you you weren't allowed to bring anyone home from Springs or Brackpan?
Yeah, I did.
See, in the West Rand, we didn't even know about Springs or Brackpan. It was like, what the hell is that, basically?
Too far.
Way too far. But I mean, you guys have sort of come so far. I mean, and you're giving so much. You're surrounded by people at the moment trying to pick your brains. I mean, you guys are doing a bit of a not a roadshow, but like you're traveling around, seeing people, seeing professionals, seeing doctors. People are asking you questions. I mean, like you guys have done some pretty incredible stuff with this whole middle ear transplant. How did we get to this point now today? Sort of over the last while, you sort of like worked on yourself, you sort of rebuilt yourself, you did the Iron Man thing, you guys worked together, you launched ProMake, your sort of business,
Correct.
and something happened to change basically, I think, everything really after that. Tell us about the prof. The prof and the journey and the tuning bone and turning your bone into a loudspeaker system.
You know, it's funny how my lovely girlfriend Gemma says to me, you know, it's all about laws of attraction. And when she first said that to me, I was like, huh? Laws of attraction. The only thing I can track is track the floor when I fall over.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
What I mean? But it's true, because what it actually did was, during the whole process of trying to fix me and get this bone paste sorted and stuff, we worked out that we could harmonically tune the bone. So I made a joke. It's like I'm pimping the ride. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm going to become like a walking loudspeaker, like a subwoofer. And I'm from the east, so there's lots of those around.
He wanted a loudspeaker.
So I cracked the joke, like I can harmonically tune bone, and it was something we just joked about.
Yeah.
And then one of our colleagues, Philip, met with the professor who found him through the internet on this research that he'd been doing for like the last 10 years, and he had traveled the world to try and get your stapes and your ossicles, your three little bones inside your ear. You want to reverse engineer those.
Bones. We always hear about these tiny bones.
The three little bones inside the ear.
That's right.
Yeah, so he wanted to reverse engineer these, and because to date there was no success on this. So through a crack joke, he heard that we could harmonically tune the bone, and then we put it all together. He came and met up with us and said, "Is this true that you can harmonically tune the bone?" And we're like, "Well, yeah, in theory we can." But we haven't really done it. So he said, well, let's test it. And in a space of what we're actually chatting about today, it was about a week,
Yeah.
we actually ended up making the first implant, which he tested. And he went and worked on a cadaver. And like 2 days later,
This is great.
he came back and he brought the whole cadaver to my office.
Oh no!
Well, not the whole cadaver,
The head.
the head part. Put on the desk. I swear to God, the office smelled. Well, it was proper rancid. But anyway, he was so excited because it actually had worked. And he was like, we did not think it was going to work at all. And it ended up working. And then we fine-tuned it from the density. Because going back to the jewelry and the digital side, we were able to work out the density from the CT scans and actually create the right density to match the resonance frequency of the bone and soft tissue of the cadaver, and which we went with. And we evolved a bit more. And then before we knew it, surgery was then being booked, and
But you're making this sound too easy, actually. Like it's like
Yeah,
this is making it's like sort of like I came through. I can tune my bone 2 weeks later. No, what happened the 10 years before this?
They've
been trying to-
I mean, he had been to Germany, he had to be to Switzerland, I think, and
So the whole world had tried
Yes,
this.
he's been there, and they hadn't yet to that date had not given him an implant yet to test. And they couldn't get it right. And
here you oaks are in Eden Vale.
from the Vale, man.
From the Vale.
We're tough, man. We're tough.
He's going to pimp his ride.
I like this thing.
So anyway, we ended up taking the jewelry techniques and Jav's production side of things too, combining them together.
Oh my gosh.
Together with Philip's amazing design that he did, and ended up making something that resonates. And after loads of trials again, it wasn't like we made it and we went straight to theatre. There was lots of trials, work and reiterations of the design, and then I also then left and went to the UK and ended up living in the UK now. And through that process was back and forth, and we're having to now do it cross borders. So with Gav being here, with me being in the UK, now we're all of a sudden not just doing it local, we're having to now do it cross borders digitally and make sure that we can still get the right,
telemedicine. Telemedicine.
Yeah.
You could call it that. And it works. I mean, we spend a lot of time on the phone. Thank God for technology. Otherwise, our phone accounts would be
WhatsApp. Skype.
WhatsApp. Yeah. But I think a lot of it boils down to the experience that we've gained over all the years, and being on the ground is what really counts for a lot. You know, all the academic side and all the rest, reading and learning stuff out of books is one thing, but having that hands on, absolutely, and being in surgery,
developing logic basically is like being like hardcore, working on that logic, taking your sort of like your data, your knowledge, and your ideas and your concepts.
Also having no fear, we had to really leap with no fear, and just believe that this is going to work.
This is one of the greatest stories to come out of this country since the creepy crawly.
Actually, it is. Yeah, exactly. It's basically a small creepy crawly. Yeah, it is
absolutely.
But wasn't there one more thing though that like I want you to mention it because it's just like you got to do it justice here. Didn't you guys pull back from the project initially because you had moved?
Yeah, I went to the UK and we handed it over to some of the guys to handle it, and they just couldn't get it right. Eventually, the professor phoned us and said, "We've got a problem. It's gone backwards." And so we came back in again and grabbed hold of it and took all our research that we'd done before and reiterated the whole project. So got it going again.
So the story so far, you have traumatic injuries, 30 broken parts of your body. You work out along with your friend that some of your skills in jewelry design and manufacturing, 3D printing, you can put yourself back together. Correct. Surgical cutting guides, etc., etc. And then along comes this idea that you can harmonically tune a bone, and a surgeon comes to you and says, "I need a harmonically tuned bone, just by the way," and then comes to your office one day with a head and says, "You've done it," right?
That's it.
That's literally it.
And I think about that. I think, we say a head and cadaver, but I always think people donate their bodies to medical science and say, "I donate." That was possibly someone who donated their body to medical science.
Definitely, yeah.
And then, like, you're on this highway or this road to changing.
It's actually just gone insane. I mean, really? The road that we are pathing right now.
When did you know the offer was going to happen, and that now we're in? And what happened? Tell us the story.
It was like a quick swing around, hey?
It happened pretty quickly. Absolutely. I mean, we were tasked to do the actual implant itself in titanium, which we got together pretty quickly. The op was scheduled. It was planned. And the next thing, we were in surgery. We had
I was flying out from the UK. I was flying out again.
Things are serious when Derek Watts is hanging around.
Yeah, I know. How many foot of Derek Watts?
No, you do feel small.
You do feel very small. Yeah, exactly.
So your surgery is booked. You were in theatre.
Yeah, we had to be with the prof because of the fact that we had made the implant. So if anything he needed to change or do anything, we knew how that whole thing was made backwards. Yes. We need to be able to work with it. Yeah. But not that we needed to make sure the way he was placing it. If there's any change that we need to do, then we saw what he was doing. He didn't have to try and do it on his own.
And it assists us with the implants going forward. Yeah. In terms of what changes need to be done, which is a lot of what we're working on at the moment. How to improve. What is great is that Tabo, he's the patient. Yeah. When he had the surgery, he had 0% hearing.
Yes, so that's what I'm really.
Yes, I know. Good question.
Well, essentially, after a 2 or 3 week period, he had gained 70% of his hearing.
Oh, really?
We did not expect. We did not expect that. We were expecting at least 30-40%. Yeah.
Wow.
But just somehow the whole math, the algorithm between the density of the implant, the way it was placed by the prof.
Yeah. The material, it just.
So a miracle.
How did you join it?
Absolutely.
How was it joined? I mean, I say you got the implant and you got to join it to the person.
We went into the back behind the ear, and lifted the ear up so that we didn't have to go through the eardrum. Okay. And then what he then did was the prof then on the implant's got a special fork type based system that slid onto one of the membranes inside the ear, and then he took the audio nerve. Correct. So the audio nerve, and he actually used the audio nerve like a seat belt to lock it in place. So that also helped with the resonance. And he locks the implant to that, and then he did a full cover up. It sounds like a quick, chop and plug and play. But it was. I mean, you're thinking about that implant is the size of a rice granule, and now he's having to work at that molecular level and wrap a nerve around it without breaking. If he breaks it, that's it, done. You're never going to get any.
Wow. Yeah. So he is worth his soul. He's made us proud as well.
He's just such a nice guy because he's highly talented, highly skilled. I mean, the way he did it without shaking. I mean, I can't even hold a glass without shaking it.
Exactly.
But he just his education, his give back.
And then the patient comes out and says, "I can hear."
Yeah, he can hear. Yeah. And what's further
same day. Same
day he got something.
How did that make you feel?
We were shocked. We were shocked first of all. We weren't too sure if it was for real or if somebody had just pulling a leg.
I think the impact of it really took a while to sink in.
What does it mean for people with hearing problems? Is this a possible solution for people that are having cochlear implants at the moment?
The cochlea still has to work.
Yeah, the cochlea needs to work.
Okay.
Typically, these are the middle ear bones, so the ossicles and the stapes. What is very good news with that is that from the day you're born to the day you die, those bones never change size. They stay the same size your entire life. Yeah.
And your eyes.
Sure.
That's a limited
which essentially means that we can help kids. We don't have kids coming in on a yearly basis to get new implants and so on and so on. You implant and it's done for the rest of their lives.
Wow. And because you can do this via the internet, you can start reaching out to areas that wouldn't normally be able to do this. Is that right?
Yes,
correct.
Absolutely, Tom. And
what has the international community done? I mean, you say it's gone crazy since the offer.
We've had
what have you experienced since then?
We've had from North Africa. We've had anywhere from like Vietnam to strange places reaching out to us and saying our kids. And it always comes to the kids, and that's heartbreaking because you know the kid. They're still at their pinnacle life. Point to their life to start learning things, and if they don't get hearing, So that knowing that, I mean, it's come from all over the world. I mean, it's insane.
I mean, right from Canada, top of Canada, right to the
Alaska, all over
Madagascar, kind of thing. We've had coverage across the globe, and it's fantastic.
What I'm loving is okay, so just. Your humility is unbelievable. I mean, they're saying, we can't believe all these people are sort of talking to us, and
we're still from the veil.
You guys are still you're actually surprised by this, and I just love that. I mean, literally, it was okay, what did you guys get from maths from a trick?
I was pretty good at maths.
Oh, were you? Oh, you were.
Kevin's not going to get dragged out.
Gavin, come on, okay. I was hoping you were going to tell me you got an E.
Listen, I think if I remember correctly, which I don't remember much, I think they dropped my marks in a trick just to get me out of the fence. They didn't want me back.
Yeah, please don't come back.
Please don't come back.
And here you are, purpose found you. Yeah. And purpose developed and a journey developed.
Yeah.
And now you're in this sort of whole cycle of you're going to give back, eh?
Give back, right?
Give back.
And I think
everything's about give back. I hear this all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And thanks for your comment there, Wayne. It's the humility side, I think, is what has pushed us so far forward so quickly. And in every respect, we want to maintain that humility and just help people. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're all on this earth, and I believe we're all here to help each other. And that's first and foremost.
Yeah.
So
and it costs you nothing. It costs you nothing to give a little bit of your time. Nobody says give back, go give do charity work, and then what do you get from it? There's always that mindset of what's in it for me.
What's in it for me?
And you never really know where it goes.
If you really know who you are and what you want to do with your life, if you feel like you have purpose, a bit of your time will give you that sense of joy. And I know it sounds like a very cliche, cheesy way of putting it, but the power of the big give back means that people are willing to work with you, which means you can achieve more.
Isn't that true? When you say, hey, this is going to benefit other people, people are more willing to do
See, we feel sad because a lot of charities, they go out and they go, and we talk about this a lot, and where we say they need to get sponsors or they need to get donations. So we talk about the value proposition, right? And what we've decided is that a charity will go to a company and go with hat in hand and saying, please help me, please help me. Is that charity a value to the company? It's not. So what we said, well, we'll rather go to a company and say, we can develop this for you and we can design this particular product that will give you a revenue generator, but between that, you'll then be able to help this charity and grow things. So now the value proposition is that you're helping create a revenue stream for the company. They're giving back to the charity. They're projecting the feel-good energy. People are more willing to buy that product because of the whole value proposition instead of the tangible product that they're holding in their hands. Yeah. It comes with a whole package. So we're extending this out to all the charities to say, listen, if you've got a product or not a product, a charity donation type system that you need to achieve, come chat to us and let us see if we can help you develop a value proposition. Yeah. And because of that, we've now got involved with an organization called Guts to Glory. And what they do, they work with disabled athletes where they have amputations or wheelchairs needed. But now with the new materials from the hearing thing, this is where it gets really crazy, is with us being now based and registered in the UK, we now started working with the guys that founded graphene. So now a lot of people go, graphene, that's like graphite, or what is that? Graphene is an extract of the graphite type polymer, molecular structure, which is 200 times stronger than steel and 10 times lighter than aluminium. So now we're now taking this and we're now looking at making smart implants, smart wheelchairs, smart prosthetics. Because the material is biocompatible, it can attract osteoblasts, meaning that it can help grow bone. It resonates electricity.
You guys will be growing new teeth for people soon.
Well, there's a lot. We actually had a lot.
Let me know when you're in that business.
So we were with some of the university profs today at Pretoria, and we're now looking at making new smart implants to monitor and track implants in your body, so that when the doctor places an implant, you'll then over a period of time give feedback as to your bones are performing. Then we'll be able to regrow bone in your body if you have to have tumor removed.
Not only have you made history, you're busy shaping history is what you're doing.
Definitely, Tom. We always look at it as
isn't that great?
It's awesome.
It
really is.
So exciting.
If you look at this scenario with the ear implants, we've been put into the same category as Chris Barnard with the first heart transplant, which is phenomenal. We never expected that. So many years later, heart transplants happen on a daily basis and they're successful, and it's an everyday kind of thing. And we always look at it and say to each other that years to come, 2050, 2080, whatever it might be, they'll look back and say, remember those guys that did that first ear implants and how it's impacted. So yes, you're right, we're definitely shaping the way things are going. And again, humble. We don't want to toot any flutes here.
Wayne does as well. We have this concept, businesses that we love and business models, and I was obsessed with a business called, I think it's Tom Shoes in California, where for every pair of shoes you buy, they put a pair of shoes on a school kid, and they do for that school kid's life.
Awesome.
But that's the value proposition I'm telling you about, where it's a spin-off.
You remind me of that when you speak of that. And the other is, growing up in Springs, we were always very proud that on the corner of Nigel Road and Chartland, Danny Chevier and his dad came up with the idea of an automatic pool cleaner, which they called the Creepy Crawly. Went so around the world and did a great. I was trying to date his daughter, by the way, but they wouldn't let me. No. So that's why I don't live in Palm Beach. But these are the kind of stories that we love as South Africans. We invented the CAT scan in this country, and any other medical marvels. You guys have just written your name on that list. I think it's phenomenal.
Never expected that, though.
We never did, hey? Yeah, I think exactly that, Joe. When we did, or even before that, when we actually getting the implants together, even the prototypes, we never expected it to really go as far as it's gone, and to basically set the course of history. It's phenomenal, and I'm just thinking about how many people, and there are millions of people around the world that we can help. And not just with the ear.
You haven't even started yet. I was just actually saying, not with you haven't even started yet. You're thinking of all the other applications.
We've got quite a few products, implants, and so on that we're working with Prof at the moment, and they're phenomenal. We can't say too much about them at the moment, but I think at least two of them are going to set the course in terms of how things are going to be.
Will you stay friends with the Fitchef Show so that when you come up with these developments, you get back in the studio and update
one of the things to say that, what we've actually now done is, I was saying to you earlier that we got involved with an organisation called Guts to Glory.
Yes.
So we decided, so it's all good telling people what we do, but we like to work on the principle about this is what we're doing, not what we're going to be doing.
Yes. Yeah.
And a lot of people, they say what they're going to do, but do they ever achieve it? And actually there was a study on it, and like 80% of people that say that never really achieve it. So we just said, no, we're going to tell people what we've done. And one of the things that we're now doing with Guts to Glory is we're trying to set the world record next year, March, April, around about there, to take disabled athletes with prosthetics that are made through the graphene process and the carbon fibers and the 3D printing and the wheelchairs to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. But there's some professional athletes that are coming with, they're going to try and summit twice in the same day.
Yeah.
Right. But utilizing these new powerhouse graphene prosthetics.
Whatever you need from us and from me when you go on that journey, consider us and me and whatever you need.
Cool.
Awesome. That's great.
Because that's one of the things that we're looking to do is obviously it's going to cost us a fair amount. We are contributing a lot of our costs and our expenses to actually make these prosthetics at our expense. So getting there is where we're going to be needed to go along with. So we might come knock on your door.
I know how
I'm
to
not
make
going to pitch, I
videos,
promise not
and
pitch.
Wayne knows how to get me to make videos, so yeah,
Fantastic.
we'll
So,
do
but-
something. Yeah.
But what it does again is having these prosthetics, they will change the way prosthetics will be made. But we're now taking that research and we've developed a new form of prosthetics that can be quickly molded onto children while they sit there and wait. So they don't have to wait weeks. They go in, they get fitted, they leave the same day with
Incredible,
prosthesis.
solving big problems
Big
around
problems.
the world.
So,
Nice
and that's a global, it's a massive problem globally, but especially in South Africa, we got what, like a 2.5 year, almost, what's the guy saying the other day? It was about 5 years backlog of prosthetics at the government state hospitals for people that are
And
missing.
have you got this thing in your head of printing machines just making these things
and just
keep
feeding them, which we already started doing. We already developed the material to do it, that we can fit it onto the person, mold it directly on the legs, fits them, it's graphene based, so it's as strong as anything, and they leave the same day with the prosthesis.
That's incredible.
Now it sounds like, it's like plug and play, but there's a lot of things that go into place to make sure that it fits the soft tissue of the
If anyone
stump.
can get this right, it's some oaks from Edenville. Don't
Yeah.
So having that said, it's we're now going to be seeing that, and it not even for humans. We've been if you.
I wanted to
About
ask
to
you,
say
there's a
that-
picture of a parrot, because I got, the two,
Yeah.
I've got two little parrots, they're my babies, right? And I always wonder, what would happen if they bust their beak?
So now what happens is the big problem with parrots is people get these macaws when they're young, and the beak grows like your nail on your finger where you've got the cuticle, right?
Yeah.
So people that are right-handed will feed the bird or the parrot with the syringe from the side, and they'll keep pushing. So what happens is the top part of the beak starts to grow skew. So it's a human error. It's not an animal error or a defect or anything.
Wow.
So it's a human error. Instead of changing direction, they get this beak that's grows skew. Yes, given sometimes it is a birth defect, but most of the time it's human intervention. So what happens is they end up breaking the beak off or having to have the beak removed in order to live. But now they've got nothing to eat with, so they have to eat with syringes. Naturally not right.
No
So
ways.
we then 3D print out a special nylon material.
A nylon.
And
How do you
fits-
stick it on the bird?
There's a
Glue it
whole
up.
procedure that goes on.
Oh, is it?
There's special glues and mountings and stuff.
Really? And it stays on for a long time.
Yeah, you can replace it obviously, but
It becomes a permanent.
it becomes a permanent fixture. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And they can bite you as hard.
Yeah.
That's the important
We actually have to
thing.
not-
Can they draw blood?
You have to put them under, when to do it, because man, they
can
fight
bite.
back, man.
No, I know. I've got a couple of pieces of my face missing from birds that have decided to give me a kiss.
But they've just done a secretary bird as well, haven't you?
Yes, yeah.
A
Recently
secretary
we did
bird?
a prosthetic leg for a secretary bird, which has been a complete success.
Yeah.
And awesome to watch. I think what amazed me the most was how quickly
Humility.
that
yeah.
bird took to
Animals are amazing, eh?
like that. So,
Yeah.
you know, it was
Yeah, they're amazing.
wonderful to watch. You know, I mean, we've done a few others. One in particular for dogs, or the one in particular was a dog, and he took quite a long time to actually get used to it, and he's still not fully used to it. So the secretary bird was an awesome success case.
It was almost instant.
Wayne,
It
where
was-
do you find our great guests from? I mean, every week, every
man,
single week.
You got to sit back and say, like, sort of, where are the incredible people? And like, you got to look around, and like, one day I just said, hang on a second, what about Joburg TED?
There we go.
TEDx, and it was literally sort of like, I went through the list, and I was
okay.
like, no. Oh my God, this is incredible! What on earth? And I didn't even know about the sort of middle ear transplant at that point, and then it was like more about sort of like, hang on, this guy reprinted his whole body.
But you should have heard when he phoned me and I started telling him what was going on. I went from like, hey, I really liked your story, to like, yeah.
What you had Wayne Kaminsky's
Like,
speechless.
It was like I could hear in his voice like, is this guy winging it?
But I mean, like, you've seen the photographs, like you've seen he's in the video, with you know, with Jay's eyes going, no, and you think like, okay, that is proof. Something changed dramatically. You retrained your brain. I mean, you couldn't read, write, talk, walk, anything, and you retrained that. I mean, like, you know, also you said you couldn't hear properly beforehand.
I was wearing hearing aids. I was wearing hearing aids before my accident,
and now it's not.
and now I don't, because
Now
my
it's
body
selective.
found it.
Now it's elective. I like it. Gav, that's wonderful.
I got the majority of my hearing back after the accident. Just again, it was a strange way your body finds a way to fix itself and do certain things. Look, there's certain pictures that it's like a cell phone when you lose a signal, and like that it goes dead and it's there, but it's a certain pitch range in like busy shopping malls.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just, at the end of the day, I think all of this really boiled down to that there was no fear anymore. It was because, I mean, what more do I have to fear? And then having people support you made the fear not even a feature anymore.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think we had
yes.
Phenomenal.
Sorry, guys.
You're an hour in, and I hate to have to do this, but someone has to close the doors on the shop. Wayne, any final questions, comments from your side?
No, I think what's incredible is that, like you've seen with sort of many sort of Nobel prizes, is that people sort of have 80% of people who've won prizes, Nobel prizes, have got it outside of their main area of knowledge. Outside, it's sort of on the cusp, it's on the outside, on the fringes basically.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing here, is that sort of like you've got two guys here living sort of on that edge, like literally sort of like, outside of all the comfort zones, who've been told like you will never achieve anything. You are brain damaged.
Well, this is it. I mean, it took a toll. Look, I've paid a heavy price in some ways, but at the end of the day, I'll do it again.
Yeah,
I'll do it again.
Well,
this is your journey. You've owned it.
It's our journey. I mean, at the end of the day, it's everybody's journey. It's not mine and mine alone.
Yeah.
I think I speak on behalf of Wayne and Fitchef and everyone watching, and I guess the country who's we've been watching the story. When I say congratulations, well done.
Yeah, thank you.
From all of us, and also thank you. You say thank you to us, but really the big thank you should be reserved for you, for the lives that you've changed and will change in the future.
Yes.
This is what the Fitchef Show is all about. Our guest tonight, Gavin Leggett. Have I got your name right?
Yeah, Leggett, yeah,
I
that's
hope
right.
so.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
From
one of the
ProMake
first.
and Jason Laing from ProMake Limited. They are the two guys, part of the team that did the very first inner-ear 3D printed transplants.
Yeah.
I got it right.
Correct.
And of course, the man in the middle, every week, he's here with his drinks that you can buy. By the way, we're getting reports that we've got Fitchef. Someone gave us a report earlier. We're now starting to spot the Fitchef fridge. I think we should make it a feature of the show.
Okay, spot the fridges.
Spot the Fitchef fridge.
Yeah.
And Grant Fridge Finley, ironically,
yes.
his nickname is Fridge,
Yes.
said, I saw a Fitchef fridge at the garage by Social on Main on Sunday.
Oh, really?
So
Yes.
you know where he was doping on Sunday. And and
Keep it up, Grant.
I've seen them popping up more and more and more. And of course, this show is
Brilliant.
the Fitchef Show. It's brought to you by Fitchef. And thank you to Wayne Kaminsky and the guys and girls at Fitchef for helping us put this together.
Awesome
Wayne,
guys. And
catch
Excellent.
you during the week, and then next week we're back on 10 past 8 Central Africa time. Don't be late. Thank you, Wayne Kaminsky.
awesome, Tom. Good to have you back.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Tom.
And thank you, Gavin.
Thank you, Tom.
Good to have you guys on board. It's nice to have East Rand Oaks in the studio changing the world. I've always said the future of the world is in the East Rand and the center of the universe is Springs.
Yes.
Don't argue with me. Catch you next week, 10
Springs-ish.
past 8. Fitchef Show will be back Central Africa time. Until then, I miss you already.
Stop.